Hey, what's up everyone? It's Flexing Joe. I'm back with another trade review. This is probably attempt number 5 or 6 for me to record this video and not screw it up a whole bunch of times. So if you can appreciate the struggle, make sure you drop me a follow, subscribe here and like this video. All right. So want to talk to you guys today about a NQ trade, NASDAQ trade. I typically have been trading NQ lately. Even before there was this huge uptick in the volatility, right? As I'm sure many people have. I've seen the VIX. It's been absolutely crazy just the last, really 2 weeks, right? Middle of July, and then boom, it's just been really been exploding. So this increase in volatility has made, even trading ES more difficult, right? But NQ has definitely been a little bit more challenging, and I've had to be a little bit more flexible with, my bracket orders and giving runners room to breathe, right? So it's kind of what I want to talk about in this video and explain a lot more than just a typed picture message. So, and like a caption of like why I took the trade, right? So off of the open, or even going into the open, I was watching it, with a pretty heavy focus on this area right here. I actually had a drawing and it was gone. So the reason I had such a focus on this area is that after the close, there was this little wick pop down and this big move up, right? And I expected that maybe there would be, some buying in here. But also, if we go down to the 5, what I want to specifically look at is, let me zoom in, is, this last 5-minute candle as well. And I'm going to mark the low of that candle. So there's algorithms that tend to fire in the last few minutes.
One eternity later.
All right, I think Cujo's done now. Whatever he heard is gone. All right, so this is algos. There's algos that pop at the end of the day. You see the big spike in volume, right? And if you've never noticed it, look at the volume here was higher than the opening print. So you really, I just want those things that I look at, right? A little gem, a little nugget for you guys today. So looking at this and the way the pre-market was, and wanting to see. You see like the low of this candle doesn't even get interacted with, right? But just wanting to see what was going to happen here. So I just saw the way this price action went. There's your London open. The London open is here. It chops a little bit and then it ultimately like hits VWAP and it flushes, comes back up to VWAP again and then flushes. So now you've had, two times here of rejecting on VWAP, and I was optimistic that we were going to come down here and hit this area and then potentially hit VWAP. So when I saw this interaction first, I was a little bit more hesitant because I thought, oh man, maybe we already came too close to the VWAP area and now we're just going to knife down some more if that's the direction we're going to go in. But I still felt very bullish on the day considering how the previous day and the daily chart and all that stuff looked. But not getting too heavy into those details, let's just put this back on the 10 and zoom in here. All right, so what I was really watching for after we had this move up was this move down. I wanted to see the previous day close interacted with, as I talked about before, in that zone underneath it. So you can see that like with this zone area, it comes into it, a little buying, knifes all the way through it, but it ends up closing this candle right here. And this 2-minute candle shows a good amount of buying here, right? The wick is about half the size of the body. So when we had more buying and they're trying to push these sellers up, and then they ultimately end up having this battle and they end up like a doji like this. Been studying some 2-minute chart candle patterns, and this is one of the things at key areas that I've noticed is that when you have something that looks like this, there is a high likelihood that we're going to retrace at least to this area. And I felt like if there was enough momentum to push people off sides, this might pop up some more. But what I was really looking for was just watching this intently on the 2-minute chart and seeing the price action just sort of like doing this like I'm doing the mouse, where just like it's like a hammer bouncing off a board and it just can't go through. And so that's what's happening. And as soon as I felt like I saw that like pop and this candle turn green, that's when I got in. So with this candle being green, I expected that it was again going to go all the way up to here. So I did keep my stop about 22, 24 points away. I wanted to give it a little bit of room, but I really didn't want to see it test this low a day. And I figured honestly that if it came down wherever I had my stop, even 30 points lower, it's just going to keep going. So that's why I was playing it pretty tight. And as it started to move in my favor, I left my targets at sort of a little bit further than normal. I've been accustomed to taking a contract off at 10 points. With this volatility being so high, I feel like if I can be right, it's going to push and I'm going to get far more than that. So I need to take advantage of that volatility while I'm, using increased risk, right? So I had it at 25 points. The reason I had it right here at 25 points at 11 is that, I was looking for the break of this candle's high, and I wanted to get out just before the break to ensure that I could take profits and de-risk the trade. So from there, again, like I was sort of moving my stop up. I kept my stop at break even at that point. So no matter what, it was, going to be, unless it really slammed through with commissions, whatever, about a $500 profit trade, which I was totally cool with. So then, from here, right, my next contract that I wanted to take off was at 60 points. And the reason being for that is that 60 points puts me right about here. I was curious where we would interact with the 2 minute, with the 2 minute 9, right? And I knew it would be somewhere in this area. And just zooming in even further, so you guys can see it. This is what I'm talking about right here, right? And you can see it ends up like kind of popping. But also, I was really just also looking at like these two candles and, kind of where this one was, and just looking at this overall and thinking, I need to take something off, another contract off, because I had 3 in here. So that's what I was doing. That's what I looked at, and I did that. I got the 60-point scale. I had the target just kind of already sitting there, and was able to grab it. So from there, pushed up pretty high, and I did hold through this drawdown, which was 59 points. The reason being is that I saw the opening print interaction. I saw this here, and I did genuinely think that was a good chance that this was going to keep pushing lower. But I saw this start to get bought up pretty quickly here, which because once I was here, I had moved my stop up to here, so I was going to get 25 points on the first and the last, and 60 on that middle contract that we scaled out, right? So once, I saw this, I saw the buying back up. I was like, okay, like again, I don't want to see it come down and break that candle. Like now I'm moving my stop up even more, and I'm going to lock in a few, another, 10 points, right? So moving that stop up along the way, it came through here. Like once it popped through this, again, like my stop was here. I kept trailing it upwards. And here's where I gave it, again, like a little bit more of a leash. So we're just managing through this trade. I see we're overtaking this. I'm seeing some selling in here. I'm getting a little bit concerned, but the candles were still closing higher. So what I was mostly concerned about was the candles closing higher, the candles closing higher. Here you get your highest candle close, and you basically get VWAP, right? But you're a little bit shy of high of day at that point. Again, I was a little bit concerned. But when we were here, and the EMA, like this candle closed, and the EMAs haven't moved up at all. When that candle closed, I was like, wow, we are really far from that 2 minute 9. We're going to go back and probably test the 2 minute 9 or 20. And that's exactly where we came through. So I literally was just fine with leaving my stop in this area where I knew they were crossed and they're up there. And I was just waiting to manage it and watch it. This was a sizable drawback, right? This is 67.5 points. It's way more than I would normally do. But again, the increased volatility, and just, I knew this had potential to be a really, really big winner once I saw just how this was all playing out. We break the high of day, we break VWAP, there's a little bit of selling. Again, some cause for concern, but minus 48 points there. And actually probably it's a little, you go from this high to this low, so it's minus 54 points. But again, like EMAs were holding, and we were getting, subsequently higher closes, right, on the bullish candles. Boom, like this one had me getting like really hyped. And then we moved up to here, and I saw that we got some selling right here by this London orb low. You can probably barely see it, but same area right here. And I was like, ah, shoot, right? So I don't know what it is, but it came back down. And I was like, just quickly thinking about how many points I was up, and decided to just take it off. I think that in just doing this review, I think that, I was not fully prepared for there to be as bearish of an interaction in this area, and watching the candle closely threw me off. And I was looking at this, and I thought that we would probably have, something maybe like this here, where it draws down a little bit. Again, this was a 67-point drawdown, but this was pretty bearish because of how it had kicked off, like this whole entire, big move down. And so was this, right? But I just wasn't prepared for that, and I was already like very high. We were at high of day for the New York session, And I was like, you know what, like 240 is plenty. I'm just going to take this off, right? And that was sort of a panicky exit. Now, in hindsight, from the peak to where it ended up drawing back was 102 points, and I feel as if there is no way I would have let it go. Like once it closed here, and I saw this closing like right on that 2-minute 20, I probably would have said like, hey, I'm gonna put my stop here now, because we've broken back down below the orb high a second time. We've broken back down through VWAP a second time. This doesn't look good. If we don't reclaim and just go from here, if we come down and we break this low, then I'm going to get out, right? I'm going to have to get out. And to be honest, that saved me like 80 points. So I don't know if it was, we can say maybe it was like a successful failure on that part, because I didn't quite have the trade plan managed, but I was just like, shoot him out. And, at that point too, there's no denying like the P&L. I posted a picture of the P&L and in the chat, and I was like, I was very hyped. Like, I was, shouting at my monitor, like I was just like, go, baby, go. Like, I was like cheering this trade on and feeling very euphoric. And I think that's when I suddenly was like, you're way too excited about this. Just take it, right? And because, if I watched 100 points, if I watched, $2,000 evaporate off of this runner contract, I probably would have been like pretty bummed, right? So, because if we look at this trade, right? I'm just going to do this and show you guys, right? So 240 points on the runner, 60 on the second contract that was sold, and then 25 on the original is 325 points, times that by $20 a contract. And then minus commissions, it's a $6,500 trade to just round up, whatever, but $6,500. And like, this is pretty wild, right? I do also want to say too that in the middle of this trade, which again is I probably add to that like euphoric feeling, and I wasn't totally prepared to cover the exacts of the trade, but I did take another long on one trade here, and I just took it like from here to VWAP 2 contracts, and I padded that account, and then I took a different long trade, from it was actually here on this candle. I was back in a little bit early. And maybe a little bit over eager, but I just felt like, again, like here we are halfway down this candle, started to see buying, took it ended up pulling against me a little bit, but I was prepared, and that one ripped as well, same thing, 25 on the first one, and then actually sold, I think I had a take profit order over this candle's high, like if we broke it, so it's like 87 maybe 85, somewhere right there. But so I like had 3 successful trades here, like in this range, that were of good size, and just felt like really excited, I think, about this one, and then was basically happy to call it a day there. So sorry, this is a little bit of epic rambling, and I hope you enjoyed this trade recap and review, and like, subscribe, and everything, and I'll see you guys in another video.